Let me catch you up on what happened with the DNA experts. So both of the DNA experts said pretty much the exact same thing with very minute differences. Here's the basics, and then I'll tell you what I think. So they both said that the magazine was tested, and there were 4 DNA profiles on the magazine, and you can tell that none of those are Tory. So most likely Tory never touched this magazine. On the gun, they both said the same thing, that there's 4 profiles on the gun, but it's inconclusive. You can't tell if the DNA is Tory's or somebody else's. Now, both experts agreed that you would expect to see Tory's DNA on the gun if he had shot it 5 times. The defense experts seem to go further and say, look, if he shot that gun 5 times and then they tested it, you would conclusively see that he's on it. You don't see that here, suggesting strong DNA evidence in Tory's favor. Now, then the prosecution went to try to discredit the defense expert. He's like, aren't you getting paid by the defense? Don't you always work for defendants? He's like, yeah, the LAPD has their crime prosecutor, and then defendants hire private companies like mine to do the forensics. It's like, oh, okay, well, how much are you getting paid? The guy's like $250 an hour. How much has he paid you total? The guy's like $6,000. It's like, oh, well, it was really kind of just like, look, there's experts, man. This guy's been doing it forever. He's like, oh, are you accredited? And he's like, no, I didn't apply for accreditation. I'm certified by the same people who do accreditation. It's like, well, what does that mean? He's like, well, twice a year, our lab people all get tested. They send them blind samples. They have to do the analysis, send it back, and then we get the results. He's like, oh, okay, well, what are the results? He's like, well, we never got anything wrong. And the guy's like, how do we know that? He's like, I'm telling you. It's like, how do we know you're not lying? He's like, well, you can check. I'll show you the records. And then he just kept going on and on. Look, at the end of the day, the DNA evidence came out strongly, I think, in favor of Tory. We'll see where the rest of the trial takes us. There was one other part, the big part, which is that they never gave the crime lab Kelsey's DNA. And so on defense, the defense brought out this point that, hey, if you ever get a case file and there's 2 people with GSR, wouldn't you expect to get 2 people's DNA? And the guy's like, yeah, that would make sense. If there's 2 people who've tested positive for the GSR and we're testing one's DNA, we ought to test both DNA. Done.
Yo, so that's Tory Lanez's lawyer. And they've been going to court all week. Like I say, they've dragged this out. This happened in 2020, and they're still dragging this out. And Tory Lanez has been ripped through the mud. Everyone automatically took Meg Thee Stallion's word for it, gave her the benefit of the doubt, despite her being shot and then putting out a twerking video the very next week. A lot of people tend to believe in her story. Not just women, but a lot of simps also. And to me, this all was, like I said, Benny the Butcher got shot right before Meg did, around that same time in Houston. And he was on crutches for like 6 months. She got shot and was twerking the next week, doing commercials and everything. Like, we didn't see any bullet wounds. We didn't see any blood. We didn't see anything. And then her story kept changing up. She took 3 weeks to call the cops, went and got on Instagram and told the world via Instagram Live before she called the local authorities. 25, 26 years old. Like I say, to me, this whole thing was designed, and if you look at any blog and you look at the comment section, you'll see the friction and division between these women, these feminists, and men arguing. This was designed to further cause more friction and division between young black men and women. That's all it was, and to elevate her career, because ever since this incident, she's performed. She had a BLM performance at the Grammys. She's had commercials. She's had food deals, all kind of deals. And they've dragged Tory Lanez, and he survived the cancellation that they put on him. But, like I say, and even in stature, it didn't make any sense. She's a big girl. That's why we call her Megatron. She's a big woman. And he's like, Tory Lanez is like 5'7" in height. Like, I just, the whole story didn't make sense to me to begin with. How much of a physical threat is he to her in reality? You know what I mean? I would love to see them two stand up next to each other, because I know she would crush him. If they had a fist fight, I probably would think she would win. You know what I mean? Like, she's not no little strength. So now they're basically saying, look, none of his DNA was found on that magazine in the car or on that gun at the crime scene. So now this makes her look like a liar. It makes her look fraudulent, which I already thought. I think a lot of us think that. There's other people in the industry that think that, but they don't want to say it because they don't want to deal with the backlash. How dare you, say a woman's lying? Because if you accuse a woman of lying about something as serious as domestic violence, rape, you know, hell, it could be her pinning a baby on you. People automatically take her side and they think you're full of shit. And they don't even try to do any research or anything. So I'm glad that they did drag this out to get to the bottom of it, because you owe that man an apology. And honestly, if he didn't do it and she knows, she should be charged for, you know, falsely accusing somebody of something that serious. They need to start locking some of these women up that falsely accuse men of domestic violence and rape. These are people's sons, fathers, and y'all playing with people's lives and their livelihood. This man could have had his whole career thrown away. But for him, luckily, he's talented and he makes good music, so he was able to still flourish and get away with all this nonsense. But yeah, this has been crazy, and like I say, it just makes her continue. It just continues to make her look crazy. It makes her look bad. And a lot of women are still capping for her in these comments. Oh, they said that. No, the proof is there. Why can't y'all just admit that this girl lied? Who gets shot? I don't care, as much as we hate the police, black people, who gets shot and then goes on Instagram to tell everybody? Bitch, you better call the cops. You know what I'm saying? Like, you better call the police. Like, come on. And you were a celebrity? That story never made sense from day fucking one. And emotionally, a lot of our women just automatically brought it. Tory Lanez, a guy who has no history of any kind of gun violence or criminology, a guy who's about barely 5'7", and they just took it and ran with it. Oh, yeah, he did it. Come on, man. Y'all owe him an apology, and Meg Thee Stallion can burn in hell, because it's a lot. There's too many women out here like that throw around their privilege of that's one thing women have, the privilege of benefit of the doubt. And a lot of these women will abuse that, and they'll make false accusations on men and pin niggas on shit that ain't got nothing. I've had it happen to me. When I was young, I had a girl falsely accuse me of some crazy shit I had nothing to do with. You know what I mean? Like, when you take your position in society and try to benefit off of it, knowing it's not true, I don't respect that. And that was wrong. So they're still continuing on with this, and it is what it is. Let me know what y'all think about Meg Thee Stallion and this Tory Lanez situation.